3 years of paying their bills, their mortgage, their comfort, all while they shamed me for not being enough. But that afternoon, I brought proof to the table and finally stopped being their bank. "You're not welcome at Thanksgiving until you apologize to your cousin," my mother declared over speakerphone. Somewhere in the background, someone actually laughed. "Don't worry," a voice chimed in. "She can eat leftovers in the garage." What they didn't realize was that for the past 3 years, I had been the invisible force funding nearly every part of their comfortable lifestyle. And when I finally reached my breaking point, the fallout was nothing short of unbelievable. My name's Emma Rodriguez, and this is how I learned that family loyalty often flows in one direction, usually financed by the person they take for granted. If you've ever been treated like the family embarrassment, while secretly acting as their personal ATM, you'll understand this story. Hit that imaginary subscribe button if you agree that respect should always come before financial support. Because what happened next proved something powerful. Sometimes the strongest word you can say is simply no. Let's rewind. I'm 28 years old, and for the last 3 years, I've been the unseen pillar keeping my family's finances from collapsing. I work as a junior financial analyst, the kind of person who can turn disorganized chaos into spreadsheets that actually make sense. I fix overdue payments, repair credit scores, and somehow stretch a paycheck far beyond what math should allow. It all began innocently enough. 2 years ago, my dad needed heart surgery. Insurance covered most of it, but there were those leftover hospital costs that felt like hidden bombs waiting to explode. Of course, I stepped in. Because that's what family does, right? You help when someone's drowning, except once I tossed them a life raft, they decided I should be their permanent lifeguard. At first, it was just until next month. I'd cover the family phone plan. Then it was the internet bill because you're so good with tech, Emma. Next came Dad's prescriptions, Mom's car payment. And before long, my quiet little yes had turned into the foundation everyone walked over, without ever looking down to see who was carrying them. I wasn't wealthy. I drove a 2015 Honda that made worrisome noises every time I turned left, lived in a studio apartment barely bigger than a closet, and survived mostly on instant ramen. But I had something my family lacked: discipline, structure, and the common sense to pay bills before disaster struck. What I didn't have was the courage to say no to them. The irony was almost poetic. They mocked my small life and my old car, completely oblivious that their mortgage autopay was being drafted straight from my account. They'd laugh about how frugal I was while using the Wi-Fi I paid for to stream their favorite shows, and gossip about me in the same family group chat I financed. That group chat was my first warning sign. On a Tuesday afternoon, it pinged, the usual digital omen of incoming drama. "Mom, final headcount for Thanksgiving." Below her message scrolled a long list of names. Like a guest list for a party I didn't even realize I'd been funding all along. But my name wasn't there. I stared at the screen, reading it again and again, half expecting to find it hidden somewhere. Maybe in invisible ink only I could see. Proof that I still belonged at the table I'd been paying for. Finally, I typed, "Did you forget to include me?" The typing bubbles appeared, vanished, reappeared, then disappeared again before my cousin Marcus finally replied, "Limited seating. Maybe try Christmas, if you can behave yourself." Behave myself, like I was some reckless child, not the adult who had been keeping their world intact for 3 years. I called my mother right away. The sound that greeted me wasn't the quiet of guilt, it was the noise of celebration. Clinking dishes, background chatter, laughter, the hum of a family gathering. Without me. "You're not welcome until you apologize to Marcus for humiliating him at his promotion dinner," my mother said, her tone dripping with that unique kind of maternal disappointment that hurts far worse than any insult from a stranger ever could. I let out a short breath. "By humiliating, do you mean asking why he keeps borrowing rent money while bragging about how he's killing it at work?" There was a pause, followed by Uncle Pete's booming voice in the background. "There she goes again, little Miss Accountant." The nickname hit harder than I wanted to admit, mostly because it was meant to sting. In their world, caring about finances, even when it was your own money keeping everyone else's lights on, was considered uptight, selfish, even rude. I bit back the frustration building in my chest and said something that surprised even me. "Fine, but if you want less drama, maybe stop using my debit card for half of your auto pay bills." For a few seconds, the line went completely silent. So silent I could hear what sounded like a door slamming somewhere on their end. Then the call disconnected. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Carmen. Don't make this about money. Family always comes first. Right after that, she posted a photo on Facebook. A long dining table glowing with candles, plates overflowing with food, everyone tagged and smiling. Everyone except me. I set my phone face down on the counter and just stared at the blank wall ahead of me. For the first time, I could clearly see the shape of a choice I'd been avoiding all year. The choice to stop being their safety net and start being something they'd never allowed me to be. Their equal. Then Thanksgiving Day arrived like a slap, delivered through my social media feed. My timeline filled with perfectly staged photos, golden turkey, fancy sides, captions about gratitude and family blessings. Around 3 p.m., my mother sent a text. Saved you a plate. Porch pickup after 6, porch pickup. Like I was DoorDash, not her daughter. Later that evening, I drove past their house. Sure enough, there it was, a foil-covered plate sitting lonely on the front steps, cooling fast in the November air. A neighborhood cat was sniffing around it, more interested in my Thanksgiving dinner than my family had been in me. I didn't take it. I left it there deliberately. The next morning, Black Friday, I decided to give myself one small act of kindness. A coffee and bagel from the little bakery downtown. A quiet rebellion against the ache that had been forming in my chest. I was waiting in line when Aunt Carmen appeared beside me, as if summoned by guilt itself. Emma, sweetheart, she began. Her voice pitched loud enough for everyone to hear. She's been having a hard time lately and very sensitive about other people's success. She turned to the cashier as though she were offering a public service announcement on how to handle a fragile customer. Someone behind me muttered, "Yikes!" and the cashier stared at the register, pretending not to exist. I walked out without saying another word. I sat in my car until the fog from my own breath faded off the windshield. That's when my phone rang. Marcus. He sounded casual, almost cheerful, like he hadn't just played a starring role in my exile from Thanksgiving dinner. Hey, can you spot me $800 for Ashley's Christmas gift? I'll Venmo you back Monday, promise. The audacity left me speechless. He'd helped freeze me out of the family celebration, and now he wanted a loan we both knew would never see repayment. When I didn't answer right away, he added, "We'd all feel better if you just apologized, you know? Stop being so difficult about everything. Family takes care of each other." Family takes care of each other. That was the chorus of my life for 3 exhausting years. The anthem of one-sided generosity. I ended the call without saying a single word. Then I opened the Notes app on my phone. For the next hour, I sat at my kitchen table typing line after line, dates, dollar amounts, and explanations. Dad's surgery expenses, Mom's overdue car payments, the electric bill they'd forgotten twice, the internet account that somehow kept paying itself, Marcus's endless rent emergencies, Aunt Carmen's minimum credit card payments. None of it had ever been one-time help, no matter what they'd promised. At the top of the document, I wrote a single sentence. What they don't know is about to set me free. That evening, my phone rang. Dad's name flashed on the screen. Hey, sweetheart, I just need a quick $400 before the bank closes Monday. It's for a security deposit. He said it so casually, like money simply appeared in my account through some mysterious magic, as if I didn't work full-time myself, budgeting every dollar just to stay afloat. His tone carried the same easy assumption everyone else had lived by for years, that my endless yes was their safety net. 3 years of being taken for granted echoed in that one request. I didn't reply. I turned off my notifications and left the phone buzzing on the couch until the sound stopped. Because what they didn't know was that I had receipts. Every one of them. Screenshots of transfers, copies of text messages, bank records, who asked, when they asked, what I paid, and every empty promise to handle it themselves next time. What they didn't know was that I still managed the family phone plan, the one no one wanted to transfer. Because it was too complicated, I still had the internet account login, the mortgage auto-pay authorization, every single digital string holding their household together. And what they didn't know most of all was that my mentor at work, Grace, had once told me something that changed how I saw everything. Boundaries aren't walls. Emma, they're love with a backbone. That Saturday, I put her advice into motion. I went to the office supply store, bought a simple binder, and filled it with printed bank statements, highlighted transactions, and notes explaining each one. The cover page read, "This is what I've done for you, and this is what I won't do anymore." By Sunday evening, I was ready. I opened my banking app and started working through the digital maze like someone diffusing an explosive. Cancel mortgage autopay. Authorization remove saved payment. Details from the electric company transfer. The family phone plan into separate prepaid accounts. Send. Everyone their new numbers. Every action was clean, legal, final, and completely under my control. On Monday morning, Marcus posted an Instagram story, a dining table still cluttered with leftover turkey and stuffing. The caption read, "Real family loyalty isn't about money." The irony was staggering. I muted his account and felt a strange, beautiful quiet settle around me. Later that afternoon, while grocery shopping, I heard a familiar voice in the next aisle. "Uncle Pete, she's back in line now," he was telling someone. "Once she realizes she needs us more than we need her, she'll come around." I didn't stop. I finished my shopping, paid for everything, and tucked the receipt into my wallet. A tiny paper promise to my future self that I was done living for their approval. By Wednesday evening, a new voicemail appeared. Mom's voice began syrup-sweet but soured quickly. "Since you won't apologize, don't bother coming for Christmas either. And spare us your dramatic spreadsheets about money." Nobody wants to hear it. As if the proof of everything I'd sacrificed was somehow an attack, not a record of quiet generosity. I listened to her message twice, then deleted it. The silence that followed didn't feel lonely. It felt clean. Friday morning, the phone erupted again. "What happened?" Mom demanded, her voice tight with panic. Something inside me went still, a deep, quiet calm that settled in my chest like a stone finding the bottom of a still lake. "I'll be there in an hour," I said, and grabbed the binder. When I arrived, the kitchen looked the same as always. Blinds half closed, daylight cutting across the counter, a pot of coffee gone cold in forgotten mugs. I set the binder on the table between us like evidence in a trial they didn't yet know they were on the stand for. "This stays between us," I said, nodding toward the living room where the TV murmured in the background. "No audience." Dad's face had gone ashen at the edges. He opened the binder with trembling fingers. "We thought Marcus was helping cover some of this," he said quietly. I rotated the binder toward him. "Marcus told you that because I was the one paying it? Here are 3 years of transactions. Every payment, date, and amount from my account directly to your mortgage company." Mom's hands shook as she flipped through page after page of highlighted expenses. Groceries, utilities, insurance, phone bills. 3 years of me holding them up while they let me sink. "You banned me from Thanksgiving until I apologized," I said softly. "So I stopped paying for the holiday you enjoyed without me. And I'm done financing a family that's embarrassed by me." The front door creaked open. Marcus stepped inside like he still lived there, and froze when he saw the binder spread across the table. "You're really doing this to them?" he asked, as if drawing a boundary was some form of betrayal instead of survival. I slid a clear sleeve across the table, his messages, everyone highlighted in yellow. All the "I'll pay you back Friday" promises that turned into next week, then never. He scanned the evidence, his mouth moving but no sound coming out. "You can call it betrayal," I said. "I call it a boundary." Dad rubbed his temples, his voice barely a whisper. "We didn't realize how much you—" "No," I interrupted, standing up because sitting suddenly felt too small. "You didn't want to realize. You wanted me to keep solving your problems without being treated like an equal. I wasn't asking for repayment." I made that clear, but the look on their faces said they weren't expecting that either, as if I'd just taken away their last excuse to resent me. "I'm not your bank anymore," I said, tapping the binder once for emphasis. "Inside are instructions for setting up your own autopay and managing your bills. You're grown adults. Start acting like it." Marcus tried one last time. "You can't just walk away from them like this." A tired laugh escaped me, soft, not bitter. "I'm not walking away. I'm treating them like the capable people they've always claimed to be." "Which includes you." He was the first to look down. "What about Christmas?" Dad asked quietly. "I'll see how I feel," I said. And for the first time, I meant it. When I stepped outside, the sun hit my face like a baptism. The air felt cleaner, lighter. For the first time in 3 years, I wasn't weighed down by guilt disguised as loyalty. Over the next few weeks, the family group chat filled with awkward posts about overdue bills and confusion over online payments. No one volunteered to help. Marcus sent one sarcastic eye roll emoji, then went silent. Mom texted me a casserole recipe like nothing had happened. I didn't reply. This time, the silence didn't ache. It felt like freedom. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop doing what's destroying you, even when the people benefiting from your pain call it selfish. If you've ever had to draw a financial line with family members who mistook your generosity for obligation, share your story in the comments. Someone out there needs to hear they're not alone. And if this reminded you that no is a full sentence, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about people who finally chose peace over guilt. Because boundaries aren't cruelty, they're self-respect with a spine. The mortgage payment bounced. Mom's voice shrieked when I finally answered. The bank's calling about late fees.